Okay, I'm back. Got someone beating with hammers over there next door. I hope it doesn't get in the way. Hi, I'm the Devine High Priestess. Anyway, I came to talk with you. I guess I ought to, because I was thinking about something today, and let me turn around here. Got my little laptop sitting here. Anyway, maybe I can see it. I was thinking about soon we're going to be transitioning over to the 5D. And I don't want you to get worried about it. It's everyone will be going, but there still is a way. You know how you go to a job, and depending on what kind of job it is the way you dress. Well, it's kind of like that going into this thing too. And the Bible teaches us, we are spiritual beings. But it doesn't tell us a whole lot, and if it does, most of us Americans don't get that language that they use. Jesus spoke in parables, and sometimes that doesn't come through all the way to tell you how to get ready and how to dress for that, for the 5D. We live in the 3D right now. I don't know what D it is when we pass away. I don't. But I know that everything that we do here was done there first. I mean, our spirit, our soul, whatever you want to call it, is up there in the 5D. They call the ethers, and they're living the life kind of parallel to what we're doing. It's the best I can describe it. And things that you do up there are done down here next. And so whatever we do there transfers down to here. Now, I don't know, I guess that, because I know that time is different here than it is anywhere else. It is. Where we have linear time here, and God did that for us. So that, we could see what we're doing, and it wouldn't just all appear, go boom, it's there. But that's the way God sees it. He sees it from the start to the finish, all at once. I don't know how that works. I can't wrap my head around it. But that's because I'm a human being, And let me explain something, because I've been hearing a lot of things like I'm an alien. Well, I could be. I mean, it could be, but let me make you understand that. I asked God about it. He says, I am an angel on a human experience. Okay. And I wouldn't have answered that way at all, but are angels aliens? Well, that depends how you look at it. Are they born here on Earth? Some of them, whenever they come down on a human experience, then that's how we get here. They say I'm a traveler of the universe. So if that's the case, then when it's time for me to go somewhere, and I've been here many times, I have to be born in, I'll pick my parents, and I'll go down here, and at some point I'll wake up to my mission here. And then I'll start my mission. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, you're crazy. Well, okay, I'm crazy then. I'm just telling you what I was told. And I got that straight from the Most High. Okay? And as one who has a pure heart, I've seen God. And I spoke to him, and he gave me this mission to do. He says there's something inside of me that I haven't addressed yet. I don't know if I'm ever going to remember it, but I hope I will, because I remember little things at a time, and that's probably for the way I was raised. I wasn't raised among a whole lot of people of the light. They were more dark than they were light. But there are some who are. I'm not saying they're all that way, but I can tell you that you've heard of all the goings on with family members and ex-friends and whatnot. So, and I still hope that they'll get their heads right and start doing the right thing, but I had to turn that over to God, Anyway, so what I want to talk to you about is how are we supposed to dress for getting ready for the new earth? Well, let's just say that Jesus laid our clothes out for us. Most of us who are, I know most people from the United States they know how to be accepted by Jesus and to be saved. If you believe on God, on Jesus, you believe He died for your sins, then He did. If you don't believe in God and you don't believe in Jesus, well, you probably ought to. That's all I can say about that. But, people got their own ways of thinking. They say all this stuff about science stuff. A lot of scientists will say that no, that it just happened. Well, I don't believe that. And then a lot of scientists will say there was actually a conscious, how they call it? Well, they knew. I mean, they can see God's hand in it. I certainly see God's hand in it. But like I said, I've met God. And it'll tell you in the Beatitudes that that people with a pure heart will see God. And I remember as a kid, I saw who God looked very much like when I met Him. And just as I just knew that there was a God from the time that I was old enough to think. You know what I mean? I also knew I could kind of talk to the animals, or at least I knew what they were trying to tell. I got along with them real good. And I didn't understand that until I was older. I mean, much older. All I knew is I remembered all that, and I asked a sister of mine what she thought about that, and we were talking one day. She says, "Well, you're an empath." Oh, that's why I knew. Okay, that makes sense. And since then, I've learned much more. About the time I was about 7 years old, I remember. Mom would send us to church, every Sunday. It was probably just a way for her to get a rest, because she had a lot of kids. But when the guy started telling me about, if you want to accept Jesus, come on up here. And I was 7 years old. And that's when I went up there. And he said, all right. said, you know, do. And I said, yes. And so from that time forward, I always believed that there was a God. Did I live proper and right? Not always. I went through what all young people go through. They get their party bones out of them and stuff, you know. Do all the things that they can do to make sure they screw up real good. But that's human nature, you know. I mean, we all go there, you know. So don't feel too bad. God has never said that we had to be perfect, and He never has. I mean, He told me that, you know. He says, you know, when He chooses somebody, He doesn't choose. You know, He doesn't choose us because we're perfect. Believe us, most of us are not. And you know, how's it say? Many are called, but few are chosen. And so, when the first time I met God, I don't know, somebody said my name, and I knew that there shouldn't be anybody in my house because I was sitting right there in that chair right there, and had fallen asleep with the TV running. And I said, you know, who else would come in my house except for? So I mean, I just knew. I just felt that. I felt the presence that wasn't an earthly presence. You know what I mean? And I said, God? He said, yes. I said, well, I'm here. He said, good. I want to talk to you about something. I figured, hey, well, I would figure it. I must have done something really bad, you know. But, no, he didn't tell me that. He said, he told me, he said, son, I want you to go on a journey with me. I said, okay, you know, I guess I belong to you. I mean, really, we're all your children. Yeah, I'll go. He said, good. I said, but I want to ask, why me? he said, because I love you. And, you know, when he said that, it was like, not a whole lot of people tell me that they love me. You know what I mean? And I think people could use that term a lot more. But you know, in this world, there's not a whole lot of authenticity to people, you know, and it's kind of been edited out because, you know, people try to protect themselves and whatnot. Me, I don't know. I just I say what's real. You know what I mean? You know, if I tell you I love you, I don't mean I love you in a romantic sense. It just means I love you as a child of God. That's the way I say it. You know. Now there are those who I do say it's in a romantic way. I don't really have anybody right now I'm saying that to. There are some I'd like, yeah, but that's all. You know, but I don't have anybody like that yet. I was supposed to have a counterpart. So anyway, he told me, and you know, of course, I had to ask all the questions. You know, I mean, how come, if you love me so much, why did I go through such a hard life? He said, well, I did that on purpose. I said, really? Wow. Gee whiz. You know what I mean? Because yeah, I gotta laugh about it because I'm thinking, really? You love me? Man, come on, dude. You know. But no, I understand now what he meant, and it was like he had to get me ready for this. You know, and this has been at times a harrowing experience. I mean, shit, man. I've been betrayed and gone through the worst. I mean, people steal all that kind of stuff. I mean, and they beat me down a little bit. But, you know, I held my ground. I didn't quit, you know, and got knocked down, I just got back up and kept on walking, you know. And that's why I went through all that. And he also said, but you're not ready yet. I said, what, really? He said, the journey you're fixing to take is not for the faint of heart. And I thought, should I be scared? You know what I mean? I've had to do things like walk through the underworld. I've had to, with demons around me, you know, whatnot. And that was dark, you know. That's kind of scary. But I came out of it all right, you know. And let me say something else to you because when you go to the 5D, you're all going to find out that people do reincarnate. They do. And the reason I know that, and I do know for sure, that people are still alive when they transition over, you know, when they die, okay? They don't die, really. Their soul is still very much alive. And well, just the other night, I had a conversation, and I'm not very good at channeling, but there's a lady who I know online who is, and she's the one who came to me. She said, I've got your grandmother here, wants to talk to you. I said, okay. Oh, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'll talk to her. And she told me some things about things, and it's just kind of personal, you know, but she also told me about that she had given me her gifts, because see, she was supposed to be doing the job I'm doing now, but you know, I understand that she couldn't finish it because back in those days, and this was a long time ago, most of y'all would think she's ancient, you know, but to me, she was my grandmother, you know. But you know, she had a lot of kids to take care of. They were farmers, basically, and back in the days of the Depression and stuff, you know what I mean. So times were really hard. She couldn't pull it off then. So they waited a long time until I came around. And they and God get together and they choose who's going to be doing this, because you have to do them. Lineages will get generational curses, you know. Let's say like you got a serial killer in there or something. Well, that's a curse. You know, let's say as far as I know, we don't have it, but we did have most of us all have an outlaw or something in our history. You know, like I had one. It's called the Tri-State Terror. His name was Wilbur Underhill. And I'm sure that was one of the curses that was put down on my family. And I'm seeing still yet more being made today. That's going to be a generation of curses, and I have to do that. I have to come against that, you see. Well, I've got them in my sights, don't worry. We're going to get them off my lineage. And you would be surprised how far lineages go out. Some of you might be in my lineage you don't even know. But what I did find out was that I have Jesus in my lineage. And who would have guessed that? I wouldn't have. He said, you have gone, your lineage goes all the way back to ancient Egyptian royalty. And so I guess I'm some kind of royalty. I never got the royal treatment here, you know, but hey, what you got to tell me, you know? Anyway, where's my crown? Really, I guess I have been crowned at some point. In fact, the other day I had them channel a thing where there were ancients in a sitting around in a circle on logs, you know, and like I could see, and there was a fire burning and stuff. And they said they handed me a staff, like a wooden staff, but not before they would tap my head with it, you know. And they said that was a crowning, you know what I mean? So, and I remember as they were leaving, they said, because they knew I had to go back to the 3D, right? They said, we wish you well, goodbye, Your Highness. You know, sound like, okay, you know. But see, I mean, do I take it serious? Yes, I do. You know, but you know, you find these things out, and you find them out up in there in that 5D. You know, there's a lot of information that you'll get that, you know, they said in the end times, and we're at the end times, y'all. I mean, I'm not trying to scare you. Doesn't necessarily mean all that stuff in the Bible's going to happen. Those were told by a man who didn't know what he was looking at. He could just, you know, he wrote the story as he saw it in his mind. And, you know, things have happened on this planet, you know, that may have changed the course of history. Your history isn't etched in stone. God rewrites the history all the time. You know, he rewrote my life. I wasn't fated to be some certain thing. No, but when he made his choice, then and called and I answered, then he wrote that story, and that's written in the stars. So so I mean, I want you all to get this because it's very important, you know, because you know, right now as you go through your lives and everything, your lineage, your ancestors, all the way back, are right there, and if you call on them, trust me, if you're doing the right thing, if you're living the way they would have you live, because make sure that you know that when they were here, they had to listen to their ancestors, and now there are gobs of ancestors in your lineages, and they have a lot to say about the way you're living, okay? You know, and have we? I don't think that we're that bad off, you know. But there are things that are probably I can agree with them in this much. There are a lot of things happening with the youngsters that I just gotta close up my ears and not try not to listen to it because it's loud thumping beat music on the cars and stuff. And well, you know, but that's what they like, and then that's, you know, while I was young, we liked rock and roll, and, you know, went to concerts and stuff, you know, and I don't think that's changed much, and really there's not a whole lot of bad going on there. You know, I don't see music's not a bad thing. You know, young people partying a little bit, you know, I don't see that's a bad thing. It's when people start hurting people and doing things that are bad for each other. You know, if they do something bad, or, you know, if they're hurting them in any way, like, you know, it could be just hurting their feelings, you know, bullies and whatnot. That's a bad thing, and that's not good. I mean, so, but I think people are getting more, a little softer about things, you know, that, so try to come against all that kind of thing. You know what I mean? But still, there are some crazies out there, you know, and there are some bad things going on. You know, when you talk about little kids getting shot up in the school, that's about as bad as it gets, you know, and that's pretty bad. And, you know, it grieves God. Trust me, it grieves us. Believe me, if it grieves you, you know it grieves God. I don't think that we give God as much reverence as we need to. I mean, even when I talked to him, I didn't, you know, like they said about people get on their hands and knees. I didn't do that. I did sit down and talk with him. And he talked to me just like he was talking to a man, And he looked like a man. He was wearing a red kind of smock, but over that he had a breastplate on, kind of like in the ancient days when these people go to war. They had swords and they had breastplates on and stuff like that. He had something like that on, and that was kind of surprising. I didn't know. I didn't know if they had moved up in the world and moved to more modern things, but I guess they don't in the spirit realm. Because listen, they fight for us all the time. I know that all this war between the dark and the light. Now, God gave me a special anointing so that I could get out of here. Could go into the dark, places where the dark is, and get his children up out of there. There are people who are probably stuck in the dark. They've gotten themselves, and generally they walk in there themselves, and they want to do that is dark, but they don't really. I don't really think they think of the consequences of that, and there are consequences to it. I mean, each time you go out there and start dealing with dark people, you're losing parts of your soul when you do that. And so there are a lot of people walking around who don't even have a soul. They've already given that up. And they would have to get a soul retrieval to get it back. I know that I've got a brother and sister right now who are kidded and deluded themselves to think that what they're doing is right. They didn't lose a soul for it. When you start getting demons attached to you, it's very likely that you're not carrying a soul anymore. You're carrying demons, and they'll take you over, and you may not even, when you wake up, you'll think, how did I get here? What did I do? Because you're really not in charge of your vessel or your body anymore. Our spirit goes out. It's like outside of us, and that's how you see auras and things like that. For those who can see them, I don't know much more than that. I do know that demons do attach to people who don't protect their souls. You know what I mean? But when you go in and start doing things just plumb mean, just plain mean, you're working towards you're chipping off some of that soul as it goes. Because those demons, they're eating your soul. That's why they're there, to eat your soul. That's what gives them power and their energy. Now, I am protected. I'm very protected because I have a big mission here. So, no, they don't get inside my soul. But boy, I'll tell you what, these people have sent demons my way, and truly, those demons see who I am, and they turn around and they say, "No, I guess we're going to come after you instead," and they'll actually defend me, because demons work for God too. Believe it or not, they may be from the underworld, but guess what? God is still the Most High, and if He says, "Touch not my anointed, touch not my prophets, or do my harm, do no harm to my prophets," He means it, and they know it, and I'm brought to memory about the story about the man the guy, they brought him to Jesus, and he was ate up with some really vicious demons. The guy was like trying to kill himself and everything else, and just going nuts, foaming at the mouth and stuff. And I guess this demon's name is Legion or something. And he says, "Oh, Jesus, please, don't kill us. please allow us to live. And so he just told him, he said, well, okay, tell you what I'll do. Go over there. There was a herd of pigs over, hogs there, and he said, I'll let you go into those hogs. And so they went into the hogs, and then guess what? Hogs ran into the water and drowned themselves. So, but they were gone. He got rid of them, and he didn't kill them. He told the hogs to go kill themselves or something, and nobody eat those hogs, But that's the way it did, and that's a true story about how that works. It has also said that if you got a demon, then say you go get yourself exercised, and I have slayed demons before, and that's I have a high ranking in the spirit realm, so they've never come back, but I know that these people are carrying those demons. I've seen them. They're Jezebel spirits and incubus, succubus spirits. And I think at least one of them knows that they've got that demon. One of them, I think, knows, but they never come around me, so I can get rid of them demons, so eventually, if I see them, I'll get rid of them for them. But they gotta show up and show up right. Now, that's what I mean when I say Jesus set our clothes out for us. We're going to this 5D, and the way you do that is you dress your soul in a good place, in a good way. We live as we live, and this is very true. When you're a Christian, if you're living really right, you're like lambs to the slaughter, really, because we try to turn the other cheek. We try to give even when giving's hard to do. We try to be kind and compassionate and speak with integrity. Those things are very important when you go to 5D, because there's a lot of things that just won't. I don't know how God would have us to do that yet, but He did tell me this. He said, whatever you allow will be allowed, and whatever you don't allow won't be allowed. He said that to me, and I can get along with that. Probably better. It's probably better to be answered to me than to God, because God doesn't, He'll put karma on you that's so bad, and believe me, He hits a lot harder than I do. But some of the things that these elites are doing, and that we've got a government right now who's I say inherently bad. They don't care about what they're supposed to be doing. They're not trying to follow the thing they wrote. I can't remember. Sometimes I do that. I hate that. When they Constitution. That's right. Okay, Constitution. But those are laws that tell us about what our rights are and what how the government is formed and how they act and whatnot. And let me tell you, if our government's bad, it's showing us to be bad, because we're supposed to be following the laws, and these guys aren't doing it. Our head guy is up there, basically just running rogue, and Well, pray about that, Pray about that, and trust me, enough prayers go up to heaven about it. Trust me, that guy's never gone. I think he's already working on it anyway, but it's important that we understand that but it's up to me. We wouldn't have a college deal that, whatever it's called, people that actually vote for the president. I think that we would have all people that are American citizens who can vote would be able to vote for that president. When we vote, it's just a popular vote. But, the Electoral College, that's what I'm talking about. It's the Electoral College who actually votes. And those people are, I don't know how they make those up, I guess probably, elites of some kind. Or at least they're up there in government or something, I just don't know really where they get that college from, but I know they didn't invite me, and I probably didn't invite y'all either, And so, and when you're talking about somebody who's going to have their hands on a button and hands over our children who go into the service, I know I went to service, and luckily the presidents that were in then were pretty well, sound people. This guy's a nut, and started a war that was illegal. Never went to Congress about it, and talking about it, I'm going to wipe out your whole society to the Iranians, and of course I'd be kind of pissed off about that too, wouldn't you? Because I'll defend, my country. I'll defend my children. I'll defend my family, provided I'm not in war with them, because, which has been the case here lately, a couple of them anyway. So, as I think that guy's going to be gone, but I would speak to the government and say, listen, you guys got to get right, start doing it right, and start using your sound minds, and instead of listening to a guy that's a nut and all he cares about is money. Because there's more to life than just money. I mean, they are certainly not dressed to go to the VID, are they? And thank goodness, I don't think they're going to be in charge of anything in VID. I think that God, I know that I'll have some kind of authority, but I'm thinking Jesus will come down here and rule on that throne. I just don't know how that's going to work yet, but maybe part of him's in me. I don't know. I don't know how that goes yet. I just know that God's real particular about those things. You know what I mean? Because God loves his children. He does. And listen, he's going to take care of it. I mean, we can only do so much. You know what I mean? Outside of a armed and conflict. And you see what happened on those January 6th ones that did that and went to prison for a little while. He gave them all amnesty, and now he's giving them a bunch of money. So, but he didn't have nothing to do with it, right? Yeah, well, I heard him that day. Yes, he did. He was the frog that made him jump. You know what I mean? That's pretty sad. Pretty sad. And hopefully he doesn't try to run again, but I don't see how he can win again. I mean, people are pretty fed up with it, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But what I mean is that in this, what I'm saying about this dressing for the part, we're at the time now where it's close enough now that this is going to happen, that we'll start transitioning over. And what I understand is that the first wave of the children who will be born with this consciousness, okay, for that 5D world. Okay, they're starting to pick their parents, because that's what you do. You pick your parents, and then when it's time for you to go, you're going to make a contract with God on what you're going to do here. You know, and those are the things that is when you're old enough and you start waking up in the spirit, okay, because that's what you're going to do, because that's how we talk to God. We talk to Him through the spirit, okay. So spirit's pretty important. Would you say that? If we have a God, and I know that we do, that the way we talk to Him is in the spirit. It's good that we keep our spirits right. And if we're out there living a life of sin and all that, and just going nuts, and I'm not saying that you go out there and drink a beer, and, you know, and get a little radical, you know, go home, go sleep it off, you know, that's not as bad. I mean, everybody, nobody's perfect here, okay? I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Sorry about that. But, you know, I don't know, where was I again? Anyway, so listen, the first thing and it doesn't mean, I'm not telling you to go to church or change your lives in any radical way. What I'm saying is that when you're dealing with other people, you know, I always say this, err on the side of kindness, you know, and, you know, there's sometimes maybe you got to throw hands, but for the most part, try to get along with people and do right by people. And if you can help them if they need help. If you can guide them in a better way, then do that too. You know, and we all know that when we're raising kids, and I raised kids, I raised 4 of them myself. So, and my last one I raised by myself. So, it's important that you teach them about God and teach them, you know, the ways that they should go and not let them go wild and stuff, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, and listen, did I spank my kids? You better believe it. Nowadays, you hear about people getting in trouble because they spanked their kid. Put a belt across their butts. Hey, listen. If they do the wrong thing, a really wrong thing, and I didn't do that very often, but a couple times I did, because they really screwed up, and they could have hurt themselves and got themselves in a lot of trouble and hurt others doing what they did, you know. So in that, yeah, they got their butts whipped for that shit. But sometimes you got to be harder, and sometimes you got to be just give them a little love. You know, and, you know, there were times like that too, and I just, well, you know, they had to sit there and cry, you know. But they need to know about God. And whenever they know about Him, and they understand that there's a way that society lives, and our whole government was based upon the Bible, the teachings of the Bible. And some of those Congress people, some of that senators and stuff are not abiding by those teachings at all. They're defending a guy who's a whack job. And if it was up to me, I'd say all of them. Now he's talking about he's coming in to drain the swamp. He added to it, you know. But yeah, we really do need to drain the swamp. Now I decided to start naming names, but this isn't about politics. This is about it's time to batten down and start living in a way that trains our children and whatnot to be the best, best people they can be, and for us to be the best people we can be. I know that I have to keep myself in check, and I know that I improve a little bit every day. You know what I mean? And then believe me, I had a hard life. Were my parents right? No, but they did the best they could. I'm not going to say that about them. I'm not mad at them. Well, sometimes I have been, but they say that childhood is something that we spend the rest of our lives getting over. And sometimes that's the case. But I'm not. I'm over it. I just say it. I'm over it. So listen, I just wanted to bring that to your mind and you think on that, because I know that it's going to come up. It's going to start coming up. And to the people who are hating on me and stuff, hey, I don't hate y'all. I do hope that you get it together, because I'd like to be done with this clearing generational curses. I don't try not to have any more, you know what I mean? But listen, and to my ancestors I say, I love you guys, all of heaven. I say, thank you, heaven and ancestors, for protecting me, because it's sometimes not such a safe place down here. And that's what I mean. We do get a lot of protection and a lot of help from our ancestors, who not only help us in protection, but they'll go to bat for us. And when say, like, if we do something stupid, and know that intention is everything. Why you did something, even if you break one of God's laws, okay? Sometimes we do it with an intent to not hurt somebody, or we do it to help somebody. That figures in, believe it or not. God does, He knows the intention, and it's the intentions that get us in trouble more than anything. If we do it as being mean and being nasty to somebody, yeah, we're in trouble. But if God looks at it and says, well, I see why you did it, and I understand that you were trying not to hurt anybody, and you were trying to help somebody out, but it was still stupid pay. The karma's not going to be as bad. It's not going to send you to hell, but if you're doing it, and I don't think that a whole lot of people are going to hell, but there are some. I mean, I like to think that, but, and here's a primary thing. When you're saved, well, it's kind of like, you don't just go and, go and ask somebody for a loan and then never pay them back, okay? It's the same thing with God. Listen, you go and you get saved, all your sins, because really, in heaven, in the rules of spiritual laws of heaven, everything's punishable by death. And think about that, because back in the old days, back in the days of our ancients, whatnot, it didn't take much to get a horse thief hanged. And nowadays you can steal a car and you don't get hanged. You understand what I'm saying? So the laws are a lot more strict than you would believe. And so God saw that. He understood that, and He didn't want his kids had to killing animals for sacrifices, and He didn't want us to have to be making sacrifices for our lives because we did some stupid little offense. Okay? So He sent His Son, He went and died for us, right? And He gave His blood, and believe me, that was a heinous death, man. He covered us all. And I know, and this is the really way it works, because one time I did something, and I was sinning, and God came to me and he says, I could feel the guilt coming out of you, and it was bothering me. What's going on? You know, I said, well, God, I got all messed up, and I know I should have been doing what I was supposed to be doing, but I didn't want to see you when I was all messed up. So, what he told me, it's really clear. I mean, he said, listen, my son has already paid for that sin, and I forgive you, okay? And I've forgiven you 100,000 times in your lifetime, and you're living under grace. So get rid of the guilt, because guilt will sink your ship, and carry on, do better next time, you know. And that's what it's all about, okay? It's just that simple. And so, you know, when I do something stupid, because I still do, I'm human, I think about it, and I say, I'm sorry I did it, you know, I'm trying to do better, please forgive me, and thank God he does, you know. So, and that's what I mean, that's how you dress for the 5D, you know what I mean. So take care of your souls, you know, take care of your spirits, you know, try to stay out of the dark, you know, and when I say the dark, I mean, look at me as the light, okay, the light of the world, that's who I really am, and come out of that darkness if you're living in the dark, and you're doing things that you should not be doing, and you know it's dark. And I've been there, and I know. I remember going into court one time, and my eyes couldn't get, they just seemed dim, you know what I mean? Because it does get dark. So come on out of the dark and get back to light, you know, because that's where we belong. We weren't born to live in the dark. We were born to be God's children. And if you get there, it'll get you in the light. And believe it or not, before you know it, your life will start lighting up. You know what I mean? And remember that you are God's children. Live a life that is that says that you're God's children. You know what I mean? And there are a lot of good people. I've met so many. You know, and I'm sure I'll meet a lot more. So know that I'm not judging anybody here. Because that's not my job. My job is to try to bring people out of the dark. So, and get them ready for this thing. You know, because just like Moses had to bring those people out of Egypt and bring them to Jordan. That's as far as Moses got to go, because he did something to make God mad. But you notice that God wouldn't let Satan have his body. Michael came, defended it, and took the body. God took care of it for him, you know. Because as long as we're one of his children, God's going to look out for us. You know, if we're living by the light, you know. He's going to... he's going to take care of us, and I know that for sure because he takes care of me, you know. And really, I never depended on anybody but me. But he said, "Don't worry, you don't have to do anything. You don't even have to do anything right now, except when I ask you to do this or that, then do it. But I'll take care of you. And I don't have to have a job, but I'll do it. You know, I mean, but this is my job." Is to keep y'all and get y'all ready for going to the 5D. And I don't know when that's going to happen exactly. But I do, like I said, I know that the first wave of children are getting ready to start being born. And if you you've got one of them, then you've got a holy being, really a holy being, a sacred child. And I know that whenever I meet whoever my spouse will be, then we will have one of those sacred children. They will be like an army of sacred beings. You know, that's what God told me. So, and so they'll welcome him in, you know, and they'll do much more than I could do. You know what I mean? He told me my son would be twice as strong as me, and he just didn't even woke up yet. You know, but I mean, he's a grown man. So, but I do believe that about him, because I've seen it in him, but he ain't ready yet. You know, God will make him ready. You know, so, but I know that I told him that you do have a calling, you just don't know it yet. You know. Anyway, so listen, God bless you all, and listen, you're all doing a great job, especially you there in the spiritual community. Very proud of you guys. I mean, really, I am. Light workers, it's time to wake up and get to work. Start helping these people out and teaching them how to transition to a spiritual, because I really mean that. The Bible doesn't discuss that a whole lot, you know, but believe me, if you listen to me, and I'm telling you this, then you're probably going to start waking up spiritually, because that's in me too. And I have to speak it in my voice, and I'm telling you, you listen to my voice right now. So if you listen to that, then there's a frequency in there that's going to start waking you up. You see, that's how that works. Oh, God put it in me. So, and he told me that. I guess that's probably what it is. So, so I hope that as many as you can listen to this thing. And I ain't no preacher. I never have been. But I can tell you what I know, and it's more right than some of these guys are telling. Yeah, they tell you how you get saved and everything, but by now, most people know that, and they need to get saved, and they know, because that's the first thing you got to do, get saved. You know, get with Jesus, and make sure that your soul is saved, you know, and that makes it a lot harder for those demons out there running around to come and mess with you, because you're one of God's children. And when that happens, he's got you in his hand. He doesn't intend to let you go, you know, and that's important, you know. Would you like to know that you're protected by heaven? Yeah, trust me, what I know about what's running around out there, yeah, you need to be protected by heaven. And when you start doing things that you are falling from grace, that's when you're not protected, and then, boy howdy, that's not good. so stay protected, you know, stay in God's grace, you know, and so God bless you all, and that's my prayer, that you all remain and stay in grace, and see the blessings of God, because when you stay there and you show God who you are, that's when those blessings are going to come, you know, and I know that for sure. I know that. So, and if not, I haven't done anything more than you all do. You know, I'm not any better than any of you. I just was chosen to do this, and that's the way I'm going to do it. And someday I'll pass that torch to somebody else. God tells me who it is. You know what I mean? So, carry on with your lives and teach your children, do well, you know, because I pray for y'all all the time, and trust me, we're protected, okay? So that's about all I got to say. I don't know how long it's been now. Probably longer than y'all want to be, but okay. So God bless you all, okay? Good night. Mm-hmm.